Officers Derek Mitchell and Tony Ramirez cruised through downtown in their patrol car, windows down, scanning the streets with predatory attention. Mitchell, a 15-year veteran with graying temples and a permanent sneer, adjusted his duty, belt with practiced arrogance. Ramirez, younger but equally cocky, smoothed back his hair as he surveyed the modest neighborhood with obvious disdain. "Another night cleaning up the streets," Mitchell muttered. "These people need to learn some respect for law and order." Ramirez chuckled coldly. "Demographics change, standards drop. Simple as that." Their reputations preceded them. Impressive. Arrest records that closer examination revealed to be disproportionately targeting people of color for minor infractions. Tonight, they were hunting for their next opportunity to flex their authority. As they rounded onto Maple Street, their attention locked onto a figure walking alone on the sidewalk. Judge Alicia Carter walked home from the courthouse, her sensible heels clicking rhythmically against the concrete. At 42, she carried herself with quiet dignity, navy blazer professional but modest, her briefcase containing tomorrow's case files. As one of only 3 black judges in the county, she felt the constant weight of representation, the pressure to be twice as prepared as her white colleagues. Her car was in the shop, so she'd chosen to walk the 8 blocks home. The evening air was refreshing after 16 hours under fluorescent lights, giving her time to decompress from her judicial responsibilities. She noticed the patrol car slowing behind her and sighed. Despite her law degree from Yale, 15 years of legal experience and gubernatorial appointment to the bench, she knew that to some people, she would always be just another black woman walking down the street. The patrol car's spotlight blazed to life, illuminating her in harsh white light. Both officers emerged with theatrical authority, Mitchell's hand resting on his weapon while Ramirez blocked her path. "Evening, ma'am," Mitchell said with false politeness. "Mind if we have a word?" Judge Carter faced the officers with courtroom composure. "Good evening, officers. Is there a problem?" Mitchell and Ramirez exchanged knowing looks. They'd played this game hundreds of times before. "We've had reports of suspicious activity in this area," Ramirez lied smoothly. "Someone matching your description." "What kind of suspicious activity?" Judge Carter asked calmly, recognizing racial profiling dressed in official language. "Drug dealing, prostitution, theft," Mitchell said casually. "You know how it is in this neighborhood. Lots of criminal element." The casual racism stung, but Judge Carter maintained her composure. "I can assure you I'm not involved in any criminal activity. I'm walking home from work." "Work, huh?" Ramirez stepped closer, invading her space. "What kind of work? Let me guess. Cleaning offices? Working at one of those massage parlors?" "I work in the legal field," she replied evenly, choosing not to reveal her true position. "Legal field?" Mitchell laughed harshly. "What, you a secretary? Maybe a paralegal if we're being generous?" "Something like that." "Well, you're looking suspicious," Ramirez said, reaching for his handcuffs. "We need to search you." "On what grounds?" Judge Carter's legal training kicked in. "You haven't articulated any reasonable suspicion." The question irritated both officers. They weren't used to legal challenges from their targets. "How about walking in a high-crime area after dark?" Mitchell's voice hardened. "How about acting nervous and evasive?" "I'm neither nervous nor evasive. I'm standing here answering your questions politely." "Are you some kind of lawyer?" Ramirez demanded suspiciously. "I know enough to understand my rights." That was the wrong answer. Mitchell's expression darkened. In his worldview, black civilians weren't supposed to challenge police authority with legal knowledge. "Your rights?" he sneered. "Let me tell you. About your rights, counselor. You have the right to cooperate and you have the right to go to jail if you don't." "Officers, I'm happy to cooperate, but I need you to explain what specific law I've violated." "How about obstruction? Resisting? Arrest? Disorderly conduct?" Ramirez moved behind her threateningly. Judge Carter recognized the situation spiraling beyond reason. These officers had decided to arrest her before leaving their car. The only question was whether she'd maintain her dignity throughout the process. "I understand you're investigating, but I'm simply trying to understand my role in it." Your role is to shut up and do what you're told, Ramirez snapped, pulling out handcuffs. Turn around. On what charge? She asked, complying with the order while mentally cataloging every detail for the complaint she would file. Public disturbance, suspicious behavior, and resisting arrest, Mitchell rattled off. Maybe more once we see what you're hiding in that briefcase. As Ramirez roughly cuffed her, Judge Carter felt the cold metal bite unnecessarily tight. That briefcase contains legal documents. You'll need a warrant to search it. Legal documents? Mitchell laughed, grabbing her briefcase. What kind of legal documents does a streetwalker carry? Probably stolen goods. You're making a mistake, Judge Carter said quietly, the words carrying weight neither officer understood. The only mistake is yours, sweetheart, Ramirez said, loading her into the patrol car. Time for a reality check. Neither officer looked back at their prisoner as they drove to the station, missing the calm, calculating expression on Judge Carter's face. The look of someone planning several moves ahead in a game these officers didn't realize they were playing. Officers, Mitchell and Ramirez walked into Courtroom 4A with swaggering confidence, expecting another routine victory against a defendant who lacked resources to effectively challenge their testimony. Another open and shut case, Mitchell muttered. Should have kept her mouth shut. Some people never learn, Ramirez agreed, straightening his dress uniform. Maybe the judge will throw the book at her. They settled into the gallery, not bothering to look up when the bailiff called the court to order. All rise for the Honorable Judge Alicia Carter. The words hit them like physical blows. Their heads snapped up in unison as the woman they'd arrested emerged from chambers wearing judicial robes, taking the bench with the same calm composure she'd shown during her arrest. The People versus Alicia Carter, Judge Carter announced, clearly. Case number 2024 CR 1847. Mitchell and Ramirez sat frozen, minds struggling to process what they were seeing. The uppity streetwalker was a sitting judge presiding over their case with full judicial authority. Officers Mitchell and Ramirez, please approach the bench. They stumbled forward like condemned men, their swagger replaced by panic. Your Honor, Mitchell began desperately, there's been some misunderstanding. The only misunderstanding, Judge Carter interrupted coolly, was your assumption that you could arrest someone without probable cause because you believed she was powerless to fight back. Judge Carter opened the case file with deliberate precision, while the officers stood like schoolchildren awaiting punishment. According to your arrest report, you stopped me because I matched the description of a suspect involved in drug dealing and prostitution. What specifically about a professionally dressed woman with a briefcase matched this description? Mitchell's face went pale. Your Honor, we had reports of suspicious activity. What reports? Judge Carter's question cut through his excuse. I've reviewed your radio logs. No calls, no alerts, no investigations in that area. So what specific facts led you to believe I was engaged in criminal activity? Ramirez stepped forward desperately. Judge Carter, if we had known who you were, if you had known who I was, her voice rose slightly. Are you suggesting constitutional rights apply differently based on job title? That probable cause changes based on social status? The question hung like an indictment. Everyone understood what the officer had just admitted, that he believed some people deserved more protection under the law than others. Walk me through your thought process, Judge Carter commanded. What crime did you witness? What evidence of wrongdoing? Mitchell attempted an answer. You seemed evasive, asking legal questions. I was asking about my rights. Since when does constitutional knowledge constitute suspicious behavior? The officers stood speechless as their justifications crumbled under judicial scrutiny. Let me educate you about the standards you swore to uphold, Judge Carter continued. The Fourth Amendment requires reasonable suspicion for a stop, probable cause for arrest. Walking while black meets neither standard. Neither does asking questions or appearing educated. She paused for emphasis. What you engaged in was racial profiling, violating both department policy and constitutional law. You targeted me based on race, gender, and perceived social status. When I asserted my rights, you retaliated with baseless arrest. The courtroom remained silent as she shuffled papers. Charges against me are dismissed. This case goes to Internal Affairs for misconduct investigation. Both officers will attend mandatory training on constitutional rights and bias awareness. Mitchell found his voice. Your Honor, our careers, this could ruin us. Judge Carter met his eyes with unwavering intensity. Officer Mitchell, you ruined yourselves when you decided that badge gave you the right to harass people based on prejudice rather than evidence. She addressed the packed courtroom. Let this remind everyone here, law enforcement, attorneys, defendants, citizens alike. Justice is blind, not because she cannot see, but because she refuses to let bias influence decisions. The law applies equally to everyone, regardless of race, gender, or social status. 6 months later, Judge Carter's story had become legendary in legal circles. Mitchell and Ramirez had been suspended, their careers hanging by threads as Internal Affairs documented years of discriminatory policing. Judge Carter returned to her bench with renewed purpose, speaking at police academies and law schools about constitutional protections and bias. The badge doesn't make you above the law, she told rookie officers. It makes you a servant of the law. Every person deserves dignity and respect, regardless of appearance or assumptions. One afternoon, a young black woman in police uniform knocked on her chamber door. Your Honor, I'm Officer Johnson, Academy graduate. I wanted to thank you for standing up, for showing that respect isn't optional. Your story was part of our training. It changed how I think about this job. Judge Carter smiled warmly. Then, maybe something good came from a very bad night. Later, walking the same route where she'd been arrested, Judge Carter reflected on change. The same streets, same buildings, but a different world, where officers had learned assumptions were dangerous, where a rookie was inspired to serve with integrity, where a judge gained deeper understanding of the system she served. Sometimes, justice was swift and perfectly poetic. Respect is not optional, because the person you look down on today may hold your fate tomorrow. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful true stories. Drop a comment with your thoughts and tell us, what truth are you brave enough to speak today?